failure is a lesson. If you fail achieving your targets, now the target is not numbers every time. It can be anything, right? Whatever target you have set, right? If you've got that feeling in your mind that you cannot fail, you will never fail.
Passionate, fiery, invincible. He is destiny's own child who has been put on this path to actually create a legacy. While she is sober, compassionate, fun loving, easygoing, and finding a balance is the true purpose of her life. Together, they are raising the bar and creating many milestones in the Indian communications industry. And I am glad to welcome them both, the Powerpuff couple, Pooja and Udit Pathak. Hi Pooja, hi Udit, welcome to my show Unbound. How are you doing today?
Great, good.
Good to see you both here finally.
Finally,
And this
yes.
had to be a video format. So, starting right from the beginning with it, तुमसे ही शुरू करते हैं. Media Mantra की journey and your entrepreneurship. How's life treated you and how's it going?
Yeah, so the journey started 12 years back, right? It has been quite humbling experience, to be very honest. And I think when we started, nobody gave us a chance and nobody thought that we will make this big. Today we can proudly say this because we are amongst the top 10 independent firms today, right? So quite good, honestly. Of course, the journey has had their own ups, downs, right? But overall, if you actually sum it up today, it's been quite eventful, I must say.
Wow. What about you, Pooja? What's your version?
I think the version is the same, but I think it's very overwhelming. And also with Media Mantra, at our personal life also, we had kids. So it's like taking care of Media Mantra and kids. How do you balance it? The lessons we learned, what we had to unlearn. I think it was quite an overwhelming feeling. And that really shows with the contentment probably that we have in life for that. So I think we are blessed that, we could be in that position to be able to maybe get that opportunity to start Media Mantra.
Absolutely. Not many couples,
Yeah.
Make it great business partners and then life back at home. Does it have its fair share of challenges, or will you also say in a cliched way, नहीं मैं अपने काम को तो छोड़कर आती हैं घर, जब हम घर पहुंचते हैं there is a different me and different her. What is the truth?
To be very honest, ये जो बोलते हैं कि हम घर छोड़ के आते हैं, वो सही नहीं है. Because ultimately what happens is you are bound to discuss business when you're sitting together, no matter whatever happens, right? No matter you decide in the boardroom that ठीक है हम घर लेके नहीं जाएंगे अपने business को, अपने काम को, but ultimately you have to discuss. I remember I think couple of years back when during the COVID times, we were sitting at home and we were doing work, right? So we had a lot of crises to be managed. Every now and then there was a mail, even though we were sitting on dining table having food. You had a mail and you would end up discussing that isko kaise sort out karna. I think, and I take a lot of proud in this, that we do take work back home and we do discuss work, because that's the most important thing for us, and also the fact that we are very serious about this.
Yeah. What about you, Pooja? How much of it gets carried back?
So I feel, Media Mantra is like a heartbeat for us. How will you not take it home? But I think what we have learned is that how to create a healthy boundary. And I think this we have learned with time. This we have learned how to probably manage a conversation, how to manage a healthy conversation or a striking conversation, or sometimes what aggravates in office, sometimes I think it settles very well at home. So I think that is something which we've learned. Earlier it was more about not managing the scales well, and what used to happen in the office setup used to get triggered at home. But now it doesn't get triggered.
And the other way around, has it happened?
Yeah, many a times.
कि
Yeah,
मैंने
yeah.
lunch में ये नहीं मांगा था.
that is always
yeah,
there.
Yeah, it's always there. That's the beauty of Unbound, that guests like you graciously come and they really come unfiltered on the show, and that's the whole idea of unbounding together.
So it's not about always being perfect in all the roles. I think if we can manage both the aspects of our life together, I think even in this imperfection, there's a lot of perfection.
How beautiful. Well said. Well said. But this has been a growing up for you guys.
Yeah.
You guys started your first jobs together in PR, if I were to get it right, and then moved out, and she was like barely just given birth to the first elder child, and you guys started with Media Mantra. So what's your fuel, Udit, and why would you do things like that?
So it's I think, Mamta, it's it's passion, right, which keeps me going. It's also, and today I will say it proudly, it's also money, right, which keeps me going. I think not वो मेरे को ना वो entrepreneur बिल्कुल अच्छे नहीं लगते जो बोलते हैं it's not about money. Ultimately every professional today has to work for money, right? Of course, you in your journey you create people, you create great businesses, sorry, and you build people, right? That's a part of your journey, right? When you reach a certain level, then only people will look up to you, right? So I believe when I started, when there was a thought of creating a firm, I think it came in my mind. I always wanted to do business because I've been born and brought up in a business class family, right? So I always thought that बड़े होके कुछ भी करना है, बिजनेस करना है. अब वो ये नहीं पता कि वो पापा का बिजनेस करना है या अपना कुछ बिजनेस करना है, right? But when I grew up, of course, we had certain challenges going in the family at that particular period of time. So I thought, कि going back to the family business was not a viable decision. So I started with jobs, etc.
Tell us a little about your family and background.
Yeah. So we started, I went to, do some work. I started with Aaj Tak Headlines Today. I was interning, then got absorbed, and then, moved to, firm. And then, of course, we started this organization. Mamta, frankly speaking, when we were growing up, the aspiration came from there only, right? We were in a setup where I remember when our family bought the car, it was the third car in Gurgaon, right? So, and people used to come because our family has been there in Gurgaon from a long time. I think it's been from 1960s, 70s, we've been here, right? So at that period of time, buying a car was, a lot of people couldn't afford it, right? So we did that, and I was around 2022, कि हम एक situation में थे, and we went down. So that gave me a kick. I said, we can't go down further. We really need to move up, and that's when I took up the challenge, and I realized that I will have to do it for this family. And I've always been a very responsible person, even though I might not look like that. A lot of my friends will say he's a very chill out guy, etc. But frankly speaking, when I take up responsibility, I want to be I want to lead from the front.
Right.
That's how I am, right? So I took that challenge, and of course, there is something called as luck also, and I give this to my luck and the God. So I get the kick from all these things. So that was how my journey and my thought to start Media Mantra was. कि यार करना है, you have to earn money, and that was the aspiration. And looking at the aspiration, so I had to do some business. So I thought PR is the I should start a firm. So
a good playground for you. But you, Pooja, coming from a job class and a upper middle class education family, which is high into academics and education and learners, so how did you find yourself fitting in, one, in his life, and second, then what is your approach towards work and business?
I think both of us are very ambitious in our careers. So I think that is something that has flown. And education-wise also, I had wanted to pursue my higher education overseas, and I did that. So I think parents have always been very supportive when it comes to our dreams, our careers, and our ambition. I think Udit has been an instrumental factor who has probably let me be the way I want to in my professional life also. And when we started Media Mantra together, since I had no understanding of how business is done, so I think whatever I've learned about how it has to be run, I think that I have learned it on job.
Right.
But the foundation of how it had to be done, I think that came to me. But over the time, it's just been so much of learning. I think I would have never learned so much in my life as I have in these 11, 12 years. So I think that has been very fulfilling for me.
Yeah.
And that has been something which really kind of, I think that's an experience I would always want to share with people. And even if some person can get slightest of inspiration from that, I think it's my job done.
For those of you who don't know, other than, of course, being a co-founder at Media Mantra, Pooja is very, very passionate about academics and regularly goes for these teaching lectures. And for those of you who don't know much and enough about Udit, so I will come to your passion and your heart, that is cricket. So how do you manage the scales? Because spending like what, 6 to 8 hours or maybe more during weekends on the ground, again, what's the fuel?
I breathe cricket, right? At one period of time, I wanted to be a cricketer, but of course, the situation didn't allow at that particular period of time. So ever since then, I've been playing cricket. I quit. I remember when I was 22, 23. That was a time when I stopped playing cricket. But I think there was a time in PR. Our PRCI, our association, came out with a concept of playing cricket consultancies, right? So there was a cricket competition which happens every year. So that's wherein I again got back to cricket and I started playing cricket again. And I've been doing that since, I think it's the first tournament happened in 2016, 17. Ever since I've playing every weekend. That is what I talk about, right? And that's something which younger generation should also look up. If you have passion, the passion can be anything. It can be a game, it can be business, it can be your service, where you're working. Just chase it, right? Don't stop.
So in that case, what would you say? What's your take on failure? How do you, if you're so success and goal driven, what is failure to you?
See, there is no failure, frankly speaking, right? If failure is a lesson. If you fail achieving your targets, now the target is not numbers every time. It can be anything, right? Whatever target you have set, right? If you've got that feeling in your mind that you cannot fail, you will never fail. You might take some time to achieve it, and that time could be your hustle essay, right? Every day, right? So you have to keep going. Life is this, right? Keep going, wake up every day. You might not feel that, ki aap 100% ho.
Absolutely. No 2 days will be the same.
So, when you realize that today is not your day, just pack your bags, go back to your, to your home and sit. I don't think people fail. People fail because they don't want to chase what they set as a target. That is what I believe.
Very well said. Absolutely. How do you look at it, Pooja?
I think I have 2-3 things that probably I view it from that thing is that I've learned over the time is that show up no matter what. So I think earlier it used to be a lot of disappointment, and probably it was initial time with kids being younger. I was kind of having my own guilt trips that okay, I'm going in office. There I'm not able to contribute well. Come back home, kids are in a make them study, do whatever. But I think I have kind of learned how to prioritize. I have learned how to show up no matter what. And very important thing is that you find your tribe. So your tribe are your set of people who help you and who pull you up and who will never judge you. So I think the day you find your tribe, even if you have 2 or 3 people, I think you are done. And when you come back home and when you discuss it again internally, because for us it is just 2 people sometimes, and sometimes both of us are in a similar mind space, right?
Absolutely.
So when the feeling or the disappointment for both the people is the same, how do you become each other's strength? So you have to have some vent out aspects which are different for both of us.
So you would say that while you are very collective in this journey, but you are on your independent paths as well.
Yes.
Wow.
100%.
Wow.
And the other aspect that we've done is that I think both of us have over the passage of time even understood what we bring on the table at a very respectable level.
Tell me something with it. Being in a PR industry, which is so people and interaction driven all the time, how do you bring yourself back up? And how do you sort of step away from that so much that goes on in a people's industry.
See, I have not said that I don't want to meet people, right? I think the biggest learning of my life has come from my professional journey,
Okay.
right? I know there are a lot of people who have taught me in this journey, right? And they themselves don't know what they have taught me, frankly speaking,
True.
right? When they usually go on stage, they I look up for one statement of them, right, which can give me that kick.
Yeah.
Right, we usually go to our association meetings, and as when I started going to the association meetings, I was just, as a firm, we were just 6 years old, 5 years old, right? And that particular period of time, I always used to think that how do you make large firms, right? How do you make a firm which has more than 100 people, more than 150 people, right? I always used to look up to leaders of different firms, and when we used to talk, that's wherein I realized that everybody has had their own journey,
Right.
right? You can't just make firms with 100 people or 200 people within 5 years, right? You have to have that journey, and you will have to you'll have to spend the time.
Yeah.
And that was the learning which I took from people only. So
Yeah.
you have to be you have to go to you have to meet people,
Yeah.
right? Understand what sort of hustle they have done and what they have reached to, where they have reached, and try to come back with that learning and give that knowledge to your own people as well, or
Yeah.
to yourself. First of all, absorb that knowledge and try doing what they have done, or try doing better than what they have done, right? So I believe that ठीक है, isolation के अंदर या अकेले बैठ के आप एक plan बना सकते हो, but learning you will have to still go back, right?
Coming to you, Pooja, how in this whole pandemonium of networking, social media, so much that is there on your plate all the time, how do you balance yourself and say, okay, here I am for purpose, or here I am for play, or here I am for fun, or here I am for business? Like, how do you make those demarcation in an industry which is so overwhelmingly people intensive?
See, I think I always believe that networking is also a kind of work, right? So, in every experience of it, I think learning is something, and meeting new people is something which I think I have always enjoyed. So whether it is fun, I think even in fun, how to have fun is something that you're learning, right? So public relations, since it is people intensive business, right? I think sometimes that experiences only help us become better as professionals.
Right.
So I think that aspect of PR is also quite great, and quite, I think, which we all should continue to kind of, meet, greet, and keep learning like that, So, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Have you identified some of your biggest fears in life?
You have my WhatsApp DP, right, with you? This is the fear which I have put up.
Acha.
So therefore, I want you to go through it.
It could only be Udit Pathak doing this on Unbound. I pray I don't mishandle what I prayed for. Is that your own line?
No, this is not my own line, but this is a line which I just
Resonate with me the
read, and I
most.
thought, this is what I am.
That's what you fear the most?
Yeah. A lot of people don't understand what they have in life, and they mishandle. And when they lose, that's when they realize, shit, this is what you lost. Right? So I believe that what you have got, we always aspire कि ठीक है आज materialistic बात भी कर लेते हैं, क्योंकि लोगों को लगता है materialistic है सब चीज़ें, but ठीक है आज आपने luxury car ले ली, अब मेरा next challenge है next luxury car कब लेनी है, right? But वो जो है उसको enjoy नहीं कर रहे हैं, right?
Close to what you just said, right?
Yeah,
Adding
so
to
you
that,
what
yeah.
you have, you're not enjoying. Aj, the firm which we have is crossing 150 people, right? We're still looking at वो 200 कब होगी. But we have got 150 people is what we usually don't sit and realize that 11 साल पहले क्या हमने ये सोचा था. So I believe that fear is just to, it is just that, God give you that strength to just handle it and don't mishandle it.
Beautifully. Very, very profound.
nice.
Very deep. So in that case, are you steering the wheels back to maybe gratitude? That is that what we miss out?
I have always been, you know, देखो मेरा पर्सपेक्टिव क्या है, राइट? मैं आप लोगों को दिखूंगा कुछ और, बट अंदर से मैं कुछ और, राइट? तो लोगों को लगेगा ये बहुत फन बंदा है, यू नो, रिस्पॉन्सिबल नहीं है, बट फ्रैंकली स्पीकिंग आई हैव बीन इन, यू नो, ग्रैटिट्यूड और, यू नो, भगवान को फॉलो और मानने वाला फ्रॉम डे वन, राइट? एवर सिंस आई थिंक 6th क्लास से लेके अभी तक, राइट? I think I've been praying almost every day. In the last 3-4 years, I've been going to a temple every day. Nobody knows about it, but I usually go to temple every day, and that's not my in-house. You know, I usually go out and pray, right? And you know, I've made this as a point in my or a daily routine that I have to go and pray. And when you go back there, ultimately you just thank God for what the God has given to you, right? So I believe that gratitude or being humble is very important, but I still believe that a lot of people, when they think that the person is, you know, वो हाथ जोड़ रहा है या वो थोड़ा सा subtle way में काम कर रहा है, lot of people think ये डरा हुआ है,
Right.
you know, your external people I'm talking about, and they start taking advantage of you. So you don't have to show that to people. You don't have to show that to people. You have to say that ठीक है यार, बुला ले जो होगा, कर लेंगे जो होगा, लेट अस फेस द चैलेंज. बट यू नो द मोमेंट यू स्टार्ट सेइंग नहीं यार रुक जाते हैं, ये कर लेते हैं, तो लोगों को ना वो समझ में नहीं आता. ये लाइफ या ये इस नॉट आई एम नॉट द इंडस्ट्री, बट ये ओवरऑल पर्सपेक्टिव ऐसे होता है. सो आई बिलीव
अच्छाई समझ नहीं आती है. इज दैट व्हाट यू वांट टू से?
यार अब ना कई बारी सिचुएशंस आती हैं, एंड यू नो एज एन एंटरप्रेन्योर की जर्नी के अंदर आती है. कई बारी आपको पता होता है कि आपको ना किसी को कोई लेसन सिखाने के लिए ना कोई हार्ड स्टेप लेना पड़ेगा, राइट?
You as an entrepreneur, you
एज
have
एन
to do
एंटरप्रेन्योर,
that.
राइट?
Okay.
नाउ पीपल, इवन तो मैं अच्छा हूँ अंदर से, आई वॉन्ट टू डू अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स, बट टू मेक श्योर दैट फॉर दैट बिजनेस I will have to take that step, right? अब आप decide करो आप अच्छे हो आप गंदे हो,
Oh my God.
right? And this happens in lot of entrepreneurial journey, right? I think almost every entrepreneur has to decide कि यार humanitarian ground पे आपको decide करना है या आपको एक business ground पे decide करना है. तो most of the time people who are, you know, take decisions on humanitarian ground, but अगर वो बहुत major decision है तो आपको कई बार रुकना भी पड़ता है, आपको decide करना पड़ता है. नहीं, मेरे को अपने 200 बंदे देखने, मेरे को 500 बंदे देखने हैं, जो कि 4 लोग होंगे अगर फैमिली में, 2000 बंदा बनता है.
Right.
So for you say that ठीक है मैं पीछे हो जाता हूँ, let that, you know, 500 people, you know, if you take that decision that will safeguard those 500 people,
Wow.
right? So I think जब आप वो decision लेते हो या externally आपको लगेगा, आपको अंदर से लगेगा वो गलत है, right? Externally लगेगा कि वो गलत है, but you've got no choice, right? So I believe that it's a very hard thing.
Yeah.
And you know,
Any of the decisions you have regretted the most in life?
I think एक decision था हमारी, you know, which I believe I took to make sure that that person, you know, understands certain aspect. But I believe that decision of mine, you know, that person couldn't understand, you know, and went up on all the social media, etc., right? And that changed the entire narrative, right? By the way, the person was a good social media trendsetter, expert, whatever, right? So I believe that having coming back to.
So did you learn some lesson?
I think again उसमें भी मेरी बुराई लगी होगी, right? To lot many people, but the other side of it was something different, right? It was that you took that decision for the business. You took that decision to tell other people that if you don't do this, we can do this as well, right? So I believe that, you know, in the entire episode of that, yes, I learned one thing which we are following very strictly, that, you know, you have to clearly communicate to people, right? I believe we always knew that we have to communicate. I believe our people who were handling the issue couldn't communicate properly, right? So that was the biggest learning for them as well, right? But again, अच्छाई वाला decision की बात करे जाए तो उसमें सबको यही दिखा कि वो बुरा है, right? So learning was this, regret was this, that, you know, we couldn't probably handle one of this incident properly in the past 12 years, but I think it's a part of your journey, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So where do you come to that point, Udit, that because जब आप situations को लोगों को एनालाइज और हैंडल कर रहे हो, आप कहीं ना कहीं अपने आप को भी जज कर रहे हो, बिकॉज आपको वो जवाब अपने आप को भी देना है. सो हैव देयर बीन पॉइंट्स इन लाइफ और स्टैंसेस वे आपको पता है कि ये करना सबके अच्छाई के लिए ज़्यादा अच्छा है, इट्स फॉर द ग्रेटर गुड ऑफ ऑल, बट यू आर इंटरनली इन अ कॉन्फ्लिक्ट विद योरसेल्फ? हैज इट एवर हैपेंड लाइक दैट?
This happened in COVID, right? When the first quarter of COVID came, I think every firm was struggling. As a business, I think every business was struggling, not the firm, right? When your business's brand side was struggling, so were the agencies too, right? In the first quarter, we lost around 35% of our business. So that was the loss which we had during, I think the COVID hit us in March. We were starting new financial year. We were happy that we are closing our books on a good note. But comes April, we lost 35% of our revenues, and that was the time wherein HR, my accounts, we all were sitting. Pooja, we all were sitting. We said that okay, one thing, we'll not deduct salaries, right? We will, and I discussed this with Pooja that yaar, agle 3 mahine na, we'll not take our salary.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Looking at whatever staff we had at that period, I remember in 2020 we had around 75 people, right? Yeah, 75-80 people. We said, yaar, let's do this. So I think अंदर से था कि नहीं यार, सब पैसे काट रहे हैं, सैलरी काट रहे हैं, हम भी काट के अपनी पैसे ले सकते हैं, राइट? बट ठीक है, हमने कहा नहीं करेंगे. So we decided we didn't do it, and I think luckily I think भगवान देखता है. तब नहीं करा तो from 75 to more than 150 people in 3 years.
Just 3
right?
years.
So we have doubled what we were. So as I said, it's again humbling thing, right? And also gratitude towards what the God has given. Come to the next quarter, we were able to, get the business. We were, I think, out of 35%, we recovered 25% of it. And then by the end of the year, we were growing.
Right.
Right. So that's something which changed too.
Phenomenal. Coming to you, Pooja, certain things that you have identified in yourself, when you face it, it's still facing yourself and judging yourself. How do you go past that fear, that challenge, or that failure, whatever it is for you?
I think the fear for me would be to probably leave my journey incomplete. I think we all come with a mission in hand, and it will be not great to kind of leave that mission incomplete. And I think to accomplish that mission, you have to undergo a lot of experiences. And that cycle of evolution starts when you face experiences. And I think it is always good in that time that you kind of meet the right kind of people, or get yourself into right kind of associations, activities, or anything that
Your influences.
You are in. Yeah. I think within duality, if you can still find your purpose, I think nothing better than that.
Okay, so cricket and wellness and meditation and so much more. What makes you unbound with it?
You've already answered it, right? Cricket.
More?
Cricket, I think that keeps me going. I usually plan my weekend matches on Tuesdays and Wednesday, and there's a group. अभी भी message आया हुआ है, कल 15th August है, so we have a tournament to play.
Wow.
So that's something which keeps me. And the second thing, I think, hitting the gym every day. That is very, very important for me. I spend around couple of hours there every day in the morning. So that keeps me going as well.
What
Two
about you,
things.
Pooja? What's your way to unbound?
I think meditation, going for retreats, spending time with family, kids. I think with kids, who's unbounding whom you don't know. But yes,
True.
Definitely.
True. So, life on a freewheeling, if you were given a day where you had to do nothing, what would you be doing?
Nothing.
That was a trick question.
Yeah, I will do nothing. Seriously.
Yeah.
I will sit, relax. That's it, and have a
But looking at you, it's unbelievable that you'll be able to sit at one place.
हाँ, ये भी बात
ये भी बात है. What about you, Pooja?
I'll do a lot of things.
Like?
Reading, swimming, going out, eating outside. A lot of things that can be done when you have to do nothing.
Nothing. True that, true that. So if I were to ask you few questions about Pooja, and Pooja, if I were to throw some volley of questions to you about Udit,
Okay.
are you prepared?
Looks like.
Yeah, well enough. Who makes the bed first thing in the morning?
In
None.
the month, none.
None. Who makes the morning tea?
The
No
house
one?
help.
House
Okay,
help?
all
The house
right,
help,
all right.
yeah.
Who drops kids to school?
Dadu.
or-
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Who packs the lunch for whom?
We
one.
both, it's packed for us together.
All right, all right. Who drives whom to work?
We both have
We
different cars.
both.
All right. Who drives each other crazy first? Who's the
Yuvan
first
and
one?
Ditya.
यार इनका तो सारा गेम सेट है. ये तो कोई ओनरशिप नहीं लेना चाह रहे.
Yuvan and Ditya makes us crazy.
Yeah. One thing you would want to change about her.
Being extra organized.
One thing you really, really wish he had.
He had. I think one thing I wish that he could have less cricket and spend more time with us, because he has a tournament completely packed schedule. So I think, or they should start doing couple cricket then.
Couple cricket then. Yeah. So one thing that you really, really admire about her.
I think she's a fantastic mother. Right? I think I've not seen a woman giving 8 hours in office, and when she's got a choice to even spend 4 hours and the work will be done. That's more important, right? So to sit in the office and then go back and take care of the kids is not easy. I cannot do that. So I think that's something which is admirable.
One virtue of his.
I think he can foresee and he can really take the risk. And I think as a family, I think he has probably taken everyone. He's thought a lot and taken the entire family to a next level. I think it was only his vision. He could have only done that.
What is your ground, leveling ground where both of you meet? Of course, individually you are very different people. But is there a basic ground where you both meet and that is like 100% given, that here you will have no conflict, here there will be no point of views which are different?
Kids. You can't have different point of views when you're raising kids. You can have, you can give your perspective, but when you go to your kid, you can't be saying you have to go to Qutub Minar and the other says to go Taj Mahal dekhne. You have to say there is one aim, you have to reach this, and you have to talk like that, right? You can't have different conversation with the kid, but aapas mein you can always have different conversation, different perspective towards for the child, etc., etc. But Mamta, frankly speaking, ever since the education for the kids started, when we discussed, we said to each other that, "Theek hai, Pooja, you are, according to me, these are the 2-3 schools. According to you, these are the 2-3 schools, right?" But ultimately, she calls the shots there. She decides ye school hai. I said, okay, fine, right? So when you go back to your kids, you say that ye school mein jana hai. Because that's a decision which
So
we
it's a
both have to
collective
get.
parenting.
So I
right?
think the
Yeah.
ground is kids, our kids, sorry. You can't have different perspective for them.
What is that one unlearning, Pooja, that you would like to have in this life?
I
Life
think
Anything that you'd like to unlearn?
not being, overthinking. I think over-analysis. I think I would definitely want to drop a little hat there and be okay.
What are your fondest memories of childhood?
Oh, fondest memories of childhood was, I was a very protected child, right? And I was brought up in a, as I said, in a joint family. So I had my chacha, I had my chachi, then my grandparents were there. So, and our house was in a factory, right? Which
In a factory?
yeah, I'm telling you, it was a compound complex, right? Wherein we had around 6 acre land, in which our house was also there. So what usually used to happen, 5 बजे छुट्टी होती थी, of the factory. So I used to, go to the main area. I used to ask 10 people to stay back and play cricket, right? From evening. So their responsibility was not just doing the factory work, but the responsibility was also to play cricket with me. So I had created my own team in factory, which had 10 people who were the labor who used to work, right? Employees of the factory, they used to come play from 5 to 7, 7:30 during the summer vacation or summer break. We used to play, and that was my fondest memory.
This is the time that we have the most fun, and it's my personal favorite segment of the show. It's called Rapid Reflex. So I'm going to just give you few questions in a word or maybe in a sentence. You have to answer them.
Sure.
Are you ready, guys?
I've had a lot of acid reflex over the past couple of months.
All right. Are you ready for this, Pooja and
Ready.
Udit?
Yeah.
All right. Life to him is
Everything. Cricket, chasing, and happiness. So,
one thing she likes to do first thing in the morning.
Pray.
One thing he does as a last thing in the evening.
he also prays. He prays, and unless and until it's Instagram reels, depends which is more lucrative. But yeah, pray.
And also depends कि आपका दिन कैसा है, लड़ाई हुई है कि नहीं.
Even then you will pray. If it's good, it's like a thank God.
I
And
hope
if
she,
it's-
yeah, she
if it's bad, then you're
wakes up calmer tomorrow.
Okay, one thing that she would never compromise on.
Kids.
One thing he would never take it away from you.
Nothing. He'll not take anything away from me.
Okay,
His responsibility is to give.
your perfect way of unbounding together. Each one can take that answer.
It could be even going to a nice restaurant or wellness, time with kids. I think anything would work, yes.
What about you?
Going to a restaurant with kids.
Going to a restaurant with kids.
Yeah.
His favorite movie?
I don't know.
Movie. He watches a lot of Netflix, but I think his favorite thing is watching cricket. Even past
How many
things
times
of
have you heard cricket?
Oh
Yeah.
God, I think this show is all about cricket.
cricket. It's just
विराट
cricket,
कोहली
yeah.
सुन रहे हैं तो आप
आप सही जगह
सही
पे
जगह पर हैं.
All right. And her favorite reads. Does she read? Is she a voracious reader? And what does she like to read?
I don't ask this to her. And
Have you observed it?
I
You're
don't
not supposed to
observe.
ask it.
I don't observe this. She reads, and because I'm not a reader, I don't read a lot, and I think I don't know it.
All right. I think with that, you guys have really come unbound. Thank you so much for sharing your journey, your purpose, your joy, your challenges, all of that here, and absolutely being unfiltered, guys. This is like awesome.
Thank you so
Thank you
much,
so
Mamta.
much. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having us here.